building my own AI search platform from scratch. I'm bootstrapping this effort as a founder, and I want to document my journey and learn from the few of you who may watch this video or read my blog on Substack. The blog's coming soon, but a bunch of links of my social are in the description below, so please check them out. But this video, I want to focus on one of the most important pieces, in my opinion, of building any kind of search service. This is a proper Perplexity / Google like search platform that I want to build. It's crazy, but what's life if you don't do crazy things? It's something I've always wanted to build, by the way. But anyways, enough about all of that. I want to talk about one of the most important things I was saying earlier, which is understanding the query. We call it query intelligence. There are lots of different things, terms people use, but let's just use the term query intelligence. And why is it important? Because oftentimes you get a small query, or these days, because of LLMs, prompts, they're in natural language, but oftentimes they're vague, and you have to derive as much information as possible to understand. And there are lots of techniques that the industry has developed. I used to work for Google Search, and Google obviously employs a ton of tactics. But obviously I'm starting from scratch, and one thing I'm doing is building AI native from the ground up. So I have the benefit of all the learnings that Google and others have had, as well as some of the things that are now easier to do because we have these powerful LLMs, which didn't exist before, and so there were some things were pretty hard. So let's focus on query intelligence. Now, how am I thinking about this? Well, the most simplest way I think about this is I want to extract as much as possible with high accuracy. So if something's mentioned in the prompt or query, again, I expect both queries and prompts. I'm advertising this, or I will be advertising this as a search platform, so I suspect we'll have both. But I want to extract everything accurately, and so I'm using a light LLM for that. It's much easier. There are a lot of specific NLP models that my teams at Google, and I used to work at Ask.com before that, people have built, great engineers have built. Now, some of the LLMs do such a good job, so it's a little bit easier for someone like me. The one thing I've learned is that the LLMs come in different shapes and sizes and profiles, and so you have to be careful what you use. And open source LLMs are incredible these days, especially the Kimi K2 models, and of course DeepSeek from model from China, and then the Gemma models, which are a little bit now lagging behind from Google. So I've experimented with a bunch of open source models, and for now, I'm using one of the production Flash models from Google, but again, I'm experimenting with a few open source models. But the idea is to use LLM to extract as much information as possible. Another thing is that a lot of these LLMs support structured JSON output. OpenAI sort of formalized it because before that effort that OpenAI sort of published, you could ask a LLM, hey, respond in JSON or extract this in JSON or something. And the LLMs are unpredictable by nature. And so you oftentimes would get broken JSON and things like that. So thanks to OpenAI. And now Gemini and a few other models support it. So that's a technique that I've been using. And you can extract as much as possible. So that's step one, extract as much as possible. And you can get some accuracy numbers. And there's some other techniques you can do for accuracy or precision. The second thing, after you're able to extract, is find out what else we can derive. So things that are not mentioned directly in the query or prompt, but you can derive. So example, location. You may be able to ask the user ahead of time to give them location or give us location permission. So that's something I want to use, but again, carefully. And if they don't give us permission, You can derive the location from IP address, lookups, things like that. And then the third way you can derive information specific to location, let's focus on location right now, is just the user's profile, right? Maybe when they signed up, we could ask them, hey, which country you're from. At least that's something we know. Maybe which state, city you're from, if they're comfortable sharing. So these are things you can derive just regarding location. There are other things you can derive from past conversations. So, OpenAI calls this memories. Perplexity does it. By the way, a lot of things I'm doing, Perplexity already does it. And Perplexity is doing a great job. I use it regularly. Well, you may be wondering, why am I building this then? Well, I think the simplest answer is we need, I feel, a solution, a search solution where the user's in the center and the business cares about the user utmost, as opposed to constant growth. So that's one. I'm not a big corporation. I don't have that funding at all, at least for the time being, and I don't have the pressure to grow. Second, I genuinely want to build it in the open with feedback, if I get any. Otherwise, I'll make my own decisions. But as much transparency as possible. Third, data privacy. Very careful about that. And then fourth is a small player, but big goals, big ambitions. I think the world needs a smaller player. All other companies are billion-dollar companies and trillion-dollar companies. Obviously, Google, Microsoft. And I don't think I'd be surprised if Perplexity becomes potentially a trillion-dollar company. I mean, they're on their way to become $100 billion company already. This is even pre-IPO. And I don't think they're gonna be acquired, or they would want them to be acquired. And so I can easily expect they'll have an IPO a year, 2 year, 3 year from now, and I easily expect they getting to 500 billion valuation very soon after that. And then depending on the industry, and especially things they're doing with the browsers and a whole slew of things. Perplexity does a lot of things. It's the part of it that I don't like. Clearly, they're aiming for Google, and they want it all a little bit in that sense. But anyways, they've done a great job. Kudos to the Perplexity. So I'm really inspired. So a lot of things I've learned from Perplexity, and sometimes when I'm not sure what to do, I try to look at what Perplexity is doing. So yeah, back to memories. So we talked about location extraction. Then we talk. Now I talk about. Oh, sorry. Step one: extract as much you can from the query. Step two: derive what you can from what the user hasn't provided, but we can derive from other info. So I gave you an example of location. Other example is memories. So what they've searched in the past. Now, if you use Perplexity, you'll see they've now introduced a dedicated step, at least in the Pro version. I'm a Pro subscriber. I happily pay $20 a month. It's great product. But they explicitly now have a step, like search prior memories, and then they sort of include it in the final synthesis or the final response. And so that's great. So that's another way you can find out or derive more. And then the third way is you can do some quick web lookups to find out related information. Sometimes I call it sort of query expansion. So you take what the user has entered, but you try to expand it. An example is, say, FX3 camera. It's a video camera, a pro camera that Sony makes, but the user may type just FX3 lenses. And you can expand the query, again, using web search or LLMs, a variety of ways. You want to use something small and quick, though, and cheap, efficient. But what you can expand, and Perplexity does this, is you can expand it to, oh, the user means Sony FX3 camera, and the user looking for the best lenses, right? So that's a query. So that's also something you derive just from a small query. So that's the first step. And I love query intelligence. It's my favorite. I was part of Google search, but I wasn't part of the query intelligence team, but I knew many of the people. In fact, I have a very good friend who now doesn't work for Google, but was a key person in the query intelligence team. but I just love the problem. It just is such. It's like a sleuth. It's like a you have to be an investigator to almost, find out in a non-creepy way, find out everything you can about what the user is asking. And I'm just scratching the surface. There's so much more. So it's something obviously I wanted to build. And what you see actually on the screen is something very simple. It's one of fun for my hello package. Um, is something that I extract from query. Again, starting small. This is from one of my design document. But you can see what I call query metadata. By the way, I use Claude heavily, Claude and Codex. So some of this is generated using Claude, and Claude documents it, or Codex documents it. I use both of them. And sometimes I'll go and edit. Same thing for code. I don't think for a product this scale, I can completely rely on just vibe coding. So I often write pieces of code, small code or fixed code, or have to constantly sort of explore options. But anyways, here is the query metadata that I'm extracting from the user's query. I'll be doing a demo soon, maybe my 4th or 5th video. I'll pull the demo right now. I'm not quite not quite ready to show the demo, but the product is functional. It's crazy. I've been working on it for almost a year and a half, so it's a long time coming. But anyways, so you can see I'm extracting location, and just again, I'm kind of zooming in on a small piece of the doc. This is a very large doc, query preprocessing infrastructure doc, QPI. But you can see location resolution. So there are like 5 tiers. The user can explicitly mention location in the query. Here's client browser means you're asking the client, the app, or the browser for permission from the user. If the user allows, that's a good signal. That's that's the second sort of tier precedence, meaning if the location is present in the query, use it. Else, derive it from the location from the client. And then third is, okay, we don't have first and second options, so like derive it from the IP address. And then fourth and is the user profile. Maybe we know something about user profile. And here profile includes memories. I've not yet implemented memories. I've kind of a prototype. Right now I just have a basic profile, sort of key value pair, mapping for every user, and so you can store anything as a user. But it's mostly populated automatically. I don't ask the user, hey, add something here. It wouldn't make sense. But going back to transparency, all of this will be shown to the user. They can delete all of it instantly. You can even say, don't remember anything about me. And it's a permanent incognito mode that I want to support. We never store anything. And all data GDPR compliance from day one. Also, I'm building the entire platform multilingual from day one. Like day one, I'm testing Japanese queries. It's so fun. It's just, those are just tenets of mine. It's something I've always wanted. So anyway, this is how, location extraction kind of comes into play. And then you can see provider routing. All that means is APIs and specific providers, for example, YouTube and, X platform things. I'm super happy to the X platform team, by the way, for giving me access to their pay-per-use pilot. And I'm seeing incredible results. It's incredible. I love the X platform team. Thank you very much for giving me access. So yeah, these are all providers. And you can imagine there are many, many, many providers, maps, places, stocks, weather, all of that. So I call them providers. And so that's kind of provider routing signals. So like, hey, should we call this? Should we call that? Obviously, you can't call everything all the time. Doesn't make sense. It's costly. It's slow. But there is some intelligence we need to derive. So that's sort of derived here. And then finally, you generate, I call it brief generation. All it means is response. So you take everything and construct the response. But while constructing response, keep in mind the language. Because I want to build this multilingual from day one. The user may be a Japanese user or prefers Japanese. And so I want to, the AI system. I'm calling it an AI system. It is an AI system, but it's built of many, many other great AIs that other people have built. So yeah, I want the AI system to generate in Japanese the response for that user. Sometimes the user can also say, respond in Japanese, ask some question. They may be English user, but they want to see the response in Japanese. And that also something I worked hard. I mean, it's not too complicated, but it's something I had to work. It's not by default. The LLMs that I'm using, it didn't automatically do it. So I have to kind of work with different prompts and some other things. But anyway, so the response would be in Japanese in that case, and then some other bits here and there. But this is sort of, I don't want to go into too much detail because the video will become very large. But this is something I wanted to talk about in today's episode. Is just one of my favorite pieces, like I said, query intelligence, query processing, query pre-processing, whatever you want to call it. And I just had an absolute blast working on this. I've been alone. I built this alone, working on this alone. I wanted that. I wanted to go in this deep sort of meditative state to kind of just figure out how I do this and kind of have that freedom and independence to do it myself. It was intentional. It's not like, I'm special or anything. A lot of this I'm doing really any sort of senior engineer can do it. I don't think you can wipe code at this level. You can't wipe code a mega or reasonably sized web search platform with lots of subtle details. But if you're some experience, you can do it. That's one of the reasons I quit. I've been busy, I guess, at the door. But it's one of the reasons, by the way, I quit Google. The realization that I can do this. I don't know what next will come, but I do intend for now to remain bootstrapped and just by myself for now, at least until the initial sort of alpha launch. Something also I wanted to show quickly was this piece. So this is something that I've sort of been thinking about, which is code execution. So you can run code. Gemini has a sandbox for that. So I've experimented with some other sandboxes too. I may not go with Gemini. I don't know. But I did experiment prototype and it's working and it's pretty cool. It's a sandbox to run data code basically and also data analysis. Right now, the system doesn't quite support file uploads or anything like that, but you can run calculations like, what's the factorial, 9 factorial, or calculate the tip I should pay, things like that. Rich content simply means, it's just more decorated. There's more metadata associated, like a place. I consider rich content. If a place matches, then has a name, rating, things like that. Video, same thing, has views and things like that. So that's all metadata. Real time is something I'm big on. I love this. I love the X platform. And thank you again, the team, for giving me access. So that's something I'm exploring. And then also the creative part is the easiest part that you get for free if you just use LLM. So if I didn't do anything, I just took LLM, wrote a Python script to just literally take the query and send it to LLM and get back, I would just get this box. It's just fine. But I want to build something that's grounded in anything that you can cite. Everything has to have citations. So that's, by the way, I didn't mention this, but trust is a big part. I was part of the trust engineering team at Google Search. It's kind of important. You want the LLMs may hallucinate, but it's good to know when we don't know when something is grounded versus is grounded in some citation. So I want to mention that. And one thing I do is if I can't identify the citation, I just put when I worked with LLM to put a question mark. Hey, we don't know. Citation is a big part. Is a big piece, by the way, of what I've worked on. It's so hard. I know Perplexity has talked about it, that they've spent, months working on it, and they've some of the brightest minds, and I absolutely don't doubt it. I'm obviously doing it myself, so I'm doing it in a simpler way, but it's still been very hard. But it's coming along really nice. And then synthesis just means kind of putting it all together. And this is hard too. Like you can't just take everything and dump it. When you're building a platform like this, context length becomes one of your sort of worst enemies, if you will. The bigger your context or your prompt context, it's slower, more expensive. And also I don't know if it's really needed, everything. You want to dump everything. So how do we smart? How do we be smart about it? URL dedupe simply means if I include web search results and then other results from providers come up, I want to make sure I dedupe, don't include the same twice. And then, of course, you want to rank via relevance. So a lot of things are matching, as you can see here. And this is just kind of, I'm zooming into a piece. And I'll talk more about this, how we put it together. It's really cool. But anyway, relevance and then merging and things like that. And there's some other things I do for citations and highlights and things like that, but not quite ready to talk about. And then finally, location intelligence. So this is something that I just wanted to show some. Here's a table of how I'm trying to test. And so here's an example where the client location is present or the profile location and what's expected. And so you can see this is a Spanish query. The client is in Barcelona, but the profile is also, I guess, Barcelona. And what do you expect? So tier 2 device. So things like that. So that's that. Again, I want to build this out in the open, and I'll keep pushing more of these videos, and I'm pushing them live, unscripted, and I'll keep doing it because they're supposed to be just me sharing my notes out in the world. But yeah, watch out for more updates, and my Substack is coming, and my Patreon, everything's coming. If you want to support me, if you do choose to support me, you don't have to pay a penny, completely free. Join my Patreon. I'll make sure you have free access for the foreseeable future. And for people who really, really help me out, I'm happy to give them lifetime free access. And folks who really, really, really help me out, I'm happy to put people's names on the about page, somewhere, so that they get recognition, right? So I want to build a community. A Discord's also coming, so a lot of things coming. But thank you. I hope this was interesting, and see you soon. How do you turn this off? Sorry, I don't know. This is my only second video. I don't know how to turn this thing off. Hello. I think this is it. There's a finish button. All right. Hasta la vista. Take care.